Worm is a web serial by J.C. McCrae, also known as Wildbow. You can read Worm in its original format by visiting parahumans.wordpress.com or donate to Wildbow's Patreon at patreon.com/wildbow. This story isn't intended for young or sensitive readers. Readers who are on the lookout for trigger warnings are advised to give Worm a pass. For a complete list, check the description for all of Worm's trigger warnings.
Good morning, Brockton Bay. Things have changed.
Indeed, they have. We get a little bit of a cool down arc this episode, which is nice. And well, I guess you know what? I'm jumping ahead of everything. Welcome everybody to arc 9 of Worm with the Brockton Bay Book Club. We've got a full cast of lovely people here today, and we're going to get into it pretty quickly. A little fun arc, a little bit shorter than what we've been reading recently, and not centered around our main character. So this is kind of fun. A little bit of a unique arc we have here, focusing on the wards post-Leviathan. And I think, like our characters, it was nice to get a bit of a break after that arc. I don't know how the rest of you felt. I appreciated a little bit of a break.
Yeah, it was nice.
Yeah, it was. So we're going to jump in here. I think we're just going to kind of go. It's only got 6 chapters, so let's go chapter at a time. They're kind of all from a different ward's perspective, which is kind of fun. So starting with the first chapter from Weld's perspective, a newcomer to the story, although seen in the Leviathan fight, although I don't think he was named. Am I correct on that? Anyone?
No, he was.
Spot check?
He was named.
He was named? Okay.
He is who kind of ushers Taylor into the building at the very, very beginning of the arc.
Oh, you're right. You're right.
Him there? I thought he
Yes,
was just
they
a giant
did.
metal guy. Okay.
I'm pretty sure they named him, yeah.
We'll get a fact checker on there. But either way, new to Brockton Bay, new to the scene. Kind of a fun character. What do we think? What do we think about Weld?
Poor guy. Literally, immediately I thought of Band of Brothers, where one of the soldiers or airborne troopers had just gotten back from being injured. The rest of the airborne guys had lost a bunch of people in the Battle of Bastogne. And literally he's walking in like, hey guys, how are we doing? And everyone literally is just like, bro, shut the fuck up. Literally,
Yeah.
I felt for this guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's similar, at least at this point. We don't know much about him yet, but he feels similar to Legend, where we were talking last arc about how Legend kind of feels like a real hero, more so than Armsmaster or any of the other heroes we've met. And I feel like Weld is kind of a similar character where it's like, yeah, this guy feels like the real deal, Like he's just a genuinely good person, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, I just think you do feel bad for him because like you have no idea what you're coming into, do you, man?
I also had the same touchstone reference as you, Taylor. I immediately thought of Band of Brothers. Just, ooh.
Well, I mean, and you get that just at a loss for the correct word here, but like just the depression really of the entire team, of the entire city. Like it's just there. Nobody won. Like there was nobody won that fight.
The wards get cut in half.
Yeah.
They're missing 3 members.
So I was trying to remember that. I know that Aegis and Gallant die. Who's the member who?
Who's the third?
No, sorry, Aegis and Gallant and Browbeat. Right.
And Browbeat. Yeah, it was
Browbeat.
Browbeat.
That's
right.
right.
Oh yeah,
I don't remember.
the
that's
intern got killed.
Yeah.
The
He
guy
didn't
who
even have his
he had
picture
just
taken
joined. He
yet.
didn't have his picture up
Yeah.
yet. But didn't they say that somebody else left as well? And I couldn't figure out who that was.
I
I
think
could be wrong.
they're talking about how I think it was Aegis? Someone was preparing to like graduate from the wards.
Gallant was.
Okay.
Was it Gallant?
Yeah,
'Cause he was
Gallant
gonna-
was.
Was it Gallant?
Aegis was
Nope.
about to graduate because Gallant was going to take over his team.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
That's right.
that's
right.
That's what it was.
Aegis, because Clock Blocker was going to take over, but he was going to be there for like 3 months and then he'd graduate. And then
That's right.
Gallant was
That's
going to take over,
Mhm.
which is why he was headlining everything.
Right.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah, I feel for Weld, coming in, and he's so optimistic too. Like he's handed this giant stack of papers from Piggott on the helicopter, and he's like, don't worry, I'll have this memorized by Thursday, And he's so optimistic about like, I'm gonna take the team. He's super excited about like what they're gonna do, how they're gonna grow, and he just bombs that intro. It's like, oh man, buddy.
I felt that.
I don't think there's any way for that to have gone well, just because he's literally coming in from the outside. He was not personally affected by anything that just happened with Leviathan, and he's replacing two very important people for their team, that not only important, like powerful, superheroes, but also their friends.
Right.
So
I think Vista said it
no matter what.
Yeah, exactly. When Vista turns into like, wow, you didn't even learn the names of the guys you're replacing. I was like, oh, yeah, that would have been a good place to start, buddy. But again, he's a kid. We forget about that sometimes. Like
He's 17, I think.
Yeah, 17.
And I think this whole arc, I was more hyper aware of their age than any other arc so far.
Yes,
I don't know why. But it just was really like hitting me how they were like these are teenagers. Why are they letting teenagers like be on patrol? And
and they're pulling 16-hour shifts. They're rotating between like going out and then running the computer. And I mean, and I felt because even though this talks about this gets discussed in like a couple chapters in the future, it's still talking about Weld, so I'll mention it here. But the fact that he only sleeps a couple hours, like that is. In my mind, that has to be exhausting mentally. I can't imagine putting in like 22 hours of just life every day. Like, oh my God.
I think it's different for him though, because he just like he's built different.
Yeah.
Literally.
He is, yeah.
Yeah,
Literally.
Yeah.
I was also really hyper aware of that too, but I think mostly because I think it's just brought up more here. I know Vista spends a good bit of time focusing on it in her inner monologue. Like the fact that she's not even the youngest one there, and she's what? I think is she even 13 yet?
Yeah, she's 13.
Yeah, I think
she's
she
13.
turned 13.
Because at one point in time, they talk about her being a preteen.
Well, she was
And
11 when she started the wards.
Yes.
Yeah. And then she's like, what is it, 9 months older than Kid Win? And they send Kid Win out to do recruitment.
Oh, no. She has been in the wards 9 months more than Kid Win.
Yeah, but she's not,
Yeah.
older than
Yeah, because well, we'll get into it, but she mentions like, even though I've been in longer, they treat me less than because I'm younger. But we'll, like I said, we'll discuss that later.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Oh, and thank you to fact checker Michael. Weld appears in the Leviathan arc in chapters 1, 2, and 5, but it is not named. So, okay.
My bad. Sorry about that.
But still, if he was part of the fight, he still was coming out of town. Like, he doesn't have like a personal tie to the fight. So it's just, it's not his territory. It's not his neighbors' houses that are getting destroyed and his family members that are getting killed and friends. It's just different.
Yeah, he doesn't have like a personal investment into Brockton Bay.
I would say we don't know that he didn't lose, because they were shipping in a lot of people to help out with this. So like there's chances that he lost someone.
Potentially that he lost people who had gotten shipped in for the fight, but not necessarily like as in Brockton Bay.
Yeah. I imagine just given his like study habits that he was told like, oh, you're taking over. And all he did was study, all the facts and then gets there with his like pre-planned speech.
I
And
like
of
to
course,
think.
nobody's having it.
I think they're also being a bit unfair because it's not like it doesn't sound like he had much of a heads up. It's not like this was like, obviously, because Aegis and Gallant like weren't planning on dying, but this wasn't like planned. So it seems like they were like, we have to replace Aegis and Gallant. Let's bring Weldon from out of town, get him on a plane now. And I mean, they did that helicopter ride. That's when he was given the information on everything. So what was he supposed to do?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think for the most part, his like little intro speech to the wards was like pretty good. Like he's staying optimistic. He's talking about what he wants to do. It's just that he missed like his opener, which was mentioning Gallant and Aegis. And like other than that, I do love how optimistic he is. Like he is very much excited about like moving forward and like not worrying so much about the past and like building the wards up more. And I do really love that. But it's just like an optimist in a room full of depressed people is just not
Yeah.
helpful.
Yeah.
And going back to like this, I was just hyper aware of how young they are. This whole arc, the fact that like they bring Weld in from
Boston.
Yeah,
Where the fuck is
yeah.
Brockton Bay? First of all, but
Maryland area.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What
it's
we've-
relatively
England.
close to Boston.
well, though, okay, Maryland's not close to Boston, so that's
Well,
I
okay, in
think-
comparison to like
I think
Atlanta.
I think it's actually, I remember looking this up. It's supposed to be fictionally between New York and Boston. So like Connecticut, Rhode Island-ish.
okay. So not Maryland at all. Cool.
Yankee territory. It's all Yankee territory.
What we were getting at, though, what I was trying to get at, though, was that like he still has to go to school.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like they're like, oh yeah, and we enrolled you in the high school.
As a
Like,
metal,
what
as a
the
metal
hell?
man. As a metal man.
Yeah, and they're
Yeah.
like, yeah, this is fine. Like you have to be the team lead, bringing this whole team together. And yeah, he only like the rest of them are in school too. But it's just like, why do these kids basically have a full-time job outside of also having to go to high school just because they were they had the trauma that caused themselves to have powers like that? I just don't think that like people developing powers should automatically like exclude them from child labor laws, I guess.
No, I mean
I imagine
that's part of the
same
point.
people who are writing
Yeah.
up contracts for like collegiate football players are also the same people who are having to like write up contracts for the wards.
Yeah. It's literally the South Park episode.
Because there's like merchandising and everything too around them.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's just
right,
like, well, how do you bring in your slaves, sir? And he's like, they are collegiate athletes. Oh, so that's what we call them, sir. Like
yeah.
that's literally what this is.
Like
Yeah.
high school gymnasts in the Olympics. Jesus.
Right.
And Kid Win even mentioned like oh, you get this money that you'll get like later
In a
if you
trust.
go to school.
Yeah.
What? Like you're gonna risk your life every day. He's like, oh yeah, and like by this time, like next month, you could have like $2,000 in your bank account. Excuse me? Like really? Like that's not worth it. Sorry. No.
Yeah. Well, this was pre Joe Biden, so $2,000 was like
The
a lot of
inflation.
money.
It's a lot more money back then.
Yeah. Okay. But I was super excited though. We got introduced to Weld, like everything's going with him, and I'm like, all right, well, let's see how he does this. And then immediately it switches characters
Yeah.
for chapter 2.
It took me a second to realize,
Yeah,
to figure
same.
out who the hell was next. Like it doesn't just go into like with Weld's chapter, it was very obvious right away. This is not one of the characters we've met before. The next chapter, I was like, are we talking, is this Weld? Is this somebody else? Like, who
Yeah.
is this Shadow Stalker or is it somebody? I was really confused on, because the next one was,
Flechette.
yeah, that's what I was like.
Yep.
I was really
Yep.
confused on who was, whose perspective we were getting in their interaction.
Yeah, I think this arc, Sentinel, feels like it's just 6 interludes, like one after another. But there's no introductory to that. It's not like, hey, Arc 9 Interlude 1, Arc 9 Interlude 2, Arc 9 Interlude 3, which is, I feel like that could be formatted as interludes and just like, here's a bunch of interludes together, and it might make more sense. But yeah, getting a little bit of whiplash in between the chapters, being like, yeah, I don't, I'm
we
not sure.
following?
It's been a while since I've listened to it, but man, if I remember right, the fluctuating voices is the thing that killed me here.
Yeah, I did have to. I have been listening to there's a couple audiobooks, which are pretty good. They're pretty well done. But for this one, I did sit down and just read through it. That definitely helped.
Shadowstalker is so terrible.
God.
Yeah, I'm getting.
Oh
I think she might be like a sociopath. I think.
Yeah.
This really felt like Wild Bow getting to go, okay, now that everybody knows who Shadowstalker is, I can write them the same way so that that mystery isn't blown apart. Because like you get the idea, like, oh, Shadowstalker is only in the wards because she's on probation and she's a little bit of a rebel, but you don't really get the sense that she's like a psychopath, until now.
We'll get back to that.
Now,
We'll get back to that in chapter 6.
Yeah, we get there. But prior to Arc 9, you don't really get that. But now knowing, of course, that she is Sophia bridges that gap, and you go, oh.
I will have to disagree. At least not Shadow. Sophia definitely got the vibe that she was a psychopath.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. I think what he's saying is that now that we know that it is Sophia, like because we interacted with Shadowstalker and we're just like, oh, she's like Avril Lavigne. She just met a skater boy and she wants to see him later, boy. But now, like literally, But now that we know that it is Sophia, we're like, oh no. Well, she's a bitch. Okay, I guess this is a South Park episode. I'm just going to bring up every.
But no, I definitely agree with that. That connection there is so good the way it's set up, and then getting to see this character that we've seen in so many different ways again from so many different perspectives. It's just kind of fun to be like, oh yeah, no, that is who she is.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many Shadowstalkers I have played sports with. Like, I wouldn't even say that this is a sociopath. This is sports personality of like, there's winning and there's losing, and you got to be a winner and you got to tear apart losers. Like, man.
Yeah,
it kind of feels like there's something a bit more going on there.
Yeah, I would argue with that. Yeah, it feels like with Shadowstalker, like sure, it's not just like the winners and the losers, because I feel like Armsmaster kind of falls into that space sometimes, where it's like he's a fucking winner and he fucking knows it, and like, and he acts like it, and like he gives me much more of that energy than like Shadowstalker, who straight up is, we keep saying it, a sociopath or a psychopath. I don't actually know the difference between them, but she's in that zone, like, and this perspective, and I think this is cool with when you're writing a character, like have them kick a puppy to know, so we all know that they're bad. Like nothing like having Flechette be like, hey, now like let's slow down, and Shadow be like, bullshit, like let's just stand back and see what happens. Like seeing it through Flechette's eyes, it feels all the more crazy. And
goes back to what I've said a few times was, about just because someone is a hero does not make them a good person.
Exactly.
And vice versa. Just because someone is a villain does not make them a bad person.
Right.
Right.
It's relative. It's all gray.
But yeah, I did love since they're both technology users, if you can like say it like that. I really enjoyed this chapter, kind of listening to the gear.
Oh yeah.
Because you have the backpack that just generates chain.
Yeah, that's so cool.
Yeah, I was like, that's kind of cool.
I think one thing that I found really interesting this whole arc was the insight into how they classify the different.
Oh yeah, we glossed over that. That's true.
Because we didn't really they didn't go into like how they determine if someone's like a 5 versus a 6, in their respective fields, but I just thought that was like real. I really enjoyed seeing them classify people. And
I'm a mover. I'm a shaker. I'm a brute and breaker.
Oh no.
A master tinker, blaster thinker.
So would you? I'll ask this because that's amazing, and I need the whole song done soon,
Yeah.
Taylor.
I really do.
But actually, there is an answer. Like, it doesn't really spoil anything if you want to know how they classify, like what the numbers mean, because it's kind of a fun. I think it is again just kind of points to the way Wildbow sort of frames and writes about powers. But I won't go into it because they didn't explain it a lot. But if you want to know, it's kind of interesting.
Is he going to explain it later?
I can't remember if
I was
they
about
do.
to say, I feel like they do eventually.
Or is it like
Everything gets
canon?
explained eventually.
I mean, everything
Yeah.
does. It's 1.6 million words, so they probably
Yeah.
do at some
Yeah, we
point.
have time.
They're going to cover it at some point.
Yeah.
We have
Okay.
time.
We'll let it. Yeah. We'll
Yeah,
let it go then.
No spoilers.
That's fair.
Which chapter did they mention Arms Master's retirement? Was it Clock Blockers or Kid
I-
Wed?
Might have been
Or was it
one of these.
Well, wait, it wasn't Weld's, was it? Because when
I'm just gonna-
so
I'll just say my
No, it was. It was right at the beginning. You're right.
yeah, because I feel like with each of these chapters, like we've obviously gotten each perspective, but also there's like a different kind of info dump with each chapter, and like the 1st one with Weld is very much like the paperwork info drop. So like, here is what has happened since Leviathan. Here are the groups and gangs we have to worry about. Here's all the movers and shakers and breakers, and bam, there it is. And then like what Taylor said with all of the gear, I feel like that is a heavy, like Flechette's chapter, chapter 2 is a heavy like gear chapter. And so like, I mean, I love it. I'm here for it. But no, I think Arms Master's retirement is dropped in Weld's perspective in chapter 1.
I want to say my opinions on that. Bullshit.
Please do.
Bull fucking shit.
Mm-hmm.
They're covering up.
Yeah.
They're covering their asses and they're calling it a retirement.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll just say, prediction wise, that he's in the birdcage. That's what I'm thinking. But
Okay. Yeah, I was gonna say we'll definitely come back for predictions. I did love that. That was such the cop out that like it's the a training exercise went wrong and that's why there's some crashed aircraft down on enemy lines. So, like that's that whole thing. It's like, does anybody actually believe those stories?
Somebody does. Somebody who's deep throating the Protectorate.
I really want to hear more about what you think is going to happen, like specifically like him in the birdcage. Like, how does that go down?
Okay,
is this like a Rorschach situation? Like,
we'll wait till the end. Wait till the end.
Predictions. Make a note. We've got some predictions to discuss. Okay, but yeah, no, fun little Lord. Yeah, this whole arc was a lot of like, oh, cool, we get to see the wards and hear what their lives are like, and then also all this really important stuff about the world that we also need to know now. So yeah, a lot of different info dumps throughout. Yeah. I loved specifically going back to Flechette's chapter, the fact that it is a little hand wavy, but also kind of cool how it's just like, oh, there's tinkers for everything, and the government just has tinkers set aside making stuff like nonstop. I think Kid Win's chapter goes into it a bit too, where they're like, like, oh, you can put in a word with the tinker over there, and they'll get you what you need, and just spec it out. Like, man, that's pretty handy.
Which is terrifying to think that, like, how many different branches of that do they have? Do you know what I mean? Where it's like, if I got a power and all of a sudden I'm admin man. You know what I mean?
It's just so good.
And it's like, oh my God, my processing power is just so amazing.
Really good at paperwork, you know?
They call me Mr. Microsoft.
I mean, at least now we know where the Bad Dragon website came from. Clearly that's a tinker's work.
Exactly.
Oh, sorry.
But I think this is also the chapter where Flechette reaches out to don't make me say her name wrong.
You can do it.
Parian.
Got
it. We'll edit it out. Don't worry.
Thank you. Yeah. So she goes to talk to Parian, which I thought was really cool because it's basically like, if you're an independent, if you're a hero, if you're a villain, we were all sharing trauma. And so we'll discuss the shared trauma later. and like at the very end as well. Well, not at the very end, but whenever we encounter something coming up soon. But literally, just like everyone's kind of like, come on, man, like cut me some slack. I was fighting right next to you like a month ago. Come on, and everyone's like, all right, all right. So I thought it was really cool that we're kind of keeping alliances. We're talking with giant stuffed gorillas. It's just, it's great.
I like how Perion is just like, I don't like fighting. She's like, I hate this so much.
Yeah, she's like, I'm neighborhood watch, and I will pummel anyone that comes in this neighborhood. And it's just like, oh, I can respect it. I can respect it.
Period just has one of my favorite, just one of my favorite powers in general. Like that's so terrifying in like the cutest way. Like,
yeah,
is it
just turn a
stuffed
corner.
animals specifically, or is that just how she manifests it?
I think it's just cloth.
I think she has cloth thread and like kind of material manipulation.
Textile?
It sounds like.
Yeah.
Textile
Actually,
manipulation.
they'll get into her power, I think, in a later chapter. So they kind of explain. I think she might even have an interlude, if I remember right, or she's in somebody else's.
So,
She's a reoccurring character.
I don't know. Yeah, she'll come back.
She comes back.
Yeah, I love how that section with Flechette and Perion really shows like what Brockton Bay has become for like the regular people just trying to exist. And she mentions here, and then she also mentions a little bit later in Vista's chapter, but talking about how this, they're having to hoard their water and their food. And she's set up a perimeter around, this little neighborhood section of like where her and her, her mom and a bunch of other people are hiding out because they can't get clean drinking water. Everyone's fighting for food. She's using, giant stuffed gorillas to keep everybody safe. And that like, it's existing. It's fighting to exist in Brockton Bay. That's what it looks like right now. And if you're rich enough to go and stay with family in, Connecticut or whatever, like, you can leave, then okay, great. But like, what about all the people who Brockton Bay has been their entire life, and they're existing where they don't have food and they don't have water and they're having to fight off anybody who wants to try and come and take their stuff.
Right. Yeah, it's kind of a brutal look.
Yeah, they're so cute and I ship them.
I know. I was
the
gonna
line with me.
Yeah.
Flechette, they're all just a bunch of horny teenagers.
Yeah.
But I do like that she was like, I gotta find a friend. Better find the hot one.
Yeah, right.
Good friend to choose from.
Yeah. Well, no, is that a thing? Is Flechette female attracted? I only ask because she spent a bit of time talking about Shadowstalker's body and her bodysuit.
Yeah, she did.
That was my only
didn't she?
my only thinking there.
Oh. and then whenever Perion went to like make herself more modest, like with the skirt, and Flechette was like, oh.
Yeah.
Totally noticed.
No, it was
I also
cute.
forgot Shadowstalker, for the terrible person she is. I have, but damn, that double reload and everything.
That's
like
true.
it has like the cartridges of like bolts on her arms, and she like mashes the two guns to do a double reload of the crossbows.
Cool. That's pretty neat. I gotta say, we're following it. I feel like it's so easy to fall into the like, well, I love this, character like Arms Master, like, oh, he's so cool. He's got such cool gear. Like, oh man, like he's such a fucking dick. But his gear is so cool. Like, yeah, Shadowstalker's gear is pretty fucking neat. Her power too, which I'm sorry. Well, I'm sure we will get into it in chapter 6. I'll hold on my thoughts.
Yeah, we do get a whole chapter for it. Yeah.
Are we talking about Flechette's powers or Shadowstalker's?
No, it's Shadowstalker's. But we really should talk about Flechette's powers. Okay, so actually,
is this going to be one of those we talk about at the end with powers, or are we just going to talk about it now?
No, let's talk about it now because I legitimately don't think I completely understand what Flechette's powers are. So I need someone to mansplain it for me, please.
I'd appreciate you explain it, but not like condescendingly. So don't.
Well, if you had read.
No. I need the attitude. I need the attitude.
So, as far as I understand, Flechette has an array of abilities that comes from a group trigger, which they hint on, but part of it is angles. She's good at identifying and like calculating, which is what gives her like such great accuracy. But also, she has the ability to take away physical forces such as friction and gravity. And allows, for passing between molecules, and she can imbue it in objects for a like short period of time. So when she fires, not only is her angle ability give her like a sight line to stuff, potentially even around corners, but she's also got nothing holding her bolts back. Like they're gravityless, they're frictionless, they go right where she puts them.
According to the wiki, she has the ability to temporarily imbue non-living material with the ability to ignore select laws of physics.
Ooh.
So she's ignoring laws of gravity, laws of friction, like Alan said. She can make her own costume frictionless. She can make it so that way her shoes can. That's how she's able to like have her shoes bite into surfaces and things like that. So she can basically walk up walls. Pretty dope. Stuff like that.
That is pretty cool.
Yeah, because I did like the description of like, this is how. I was a little confused on the powers, but when basically it said like I use my powers to get around, but I'm running, and so literally it's just me running everywhere, but just I don't know, like a queen.
Yeah.
I guess. I guess.
Oh yeah, basic. I mean, that's pretty much what it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
I spent so much time thinking about like having to walk up a building. Like even if your feet are there, you still have to like have the calf strength to like push your. You have to walk up the building.
I think she does it with her gloves too. So she's more like cat crawling up the buildings and stuff, I think.
Can you imagine if she was just like straight out, like the core strength that would require?
Yeah.
We interrupt our scheduled program to bring you a word from our sponsor, Zencastr, a one-stop shop for all your podcasting needs. When we first started this podcast, we knew we needed a service that would let us record remotely. After doing some research, Zencastr was the obvious choice. We started using Zencastr and never looked back. It's super easy to record a podcast with Zencastr. All you do is log in, invite people to join your room, and start recording a high-quality podcast right away. You can record studio-quality sound and up to 4K video with your guests. You can rest easy even if you have an unstable connection, knowing Zencastr's multi-layered backups ensure you always have your recordings in the highest quality. We do all our recording in Zencastr, and when the episode is ready, we can distribute it to all major podcast platforms. Zencastr has made podcasting so much easier with its all-in-one podcasting platform and tools. Go to zencastr.com/pricing and use my code Brocktonbaybc, and you'll get 30% off your first month of any Zencastr paid plan. I want you to have the same easy experiences I do for all my podcasting and content needs. It's time to share your story. That's zencastr.com/pricing and use our code Brocktonbaybc. And now back to our scheduled programming.
Okay, Clock Blocker.
Yeah, let's do it. Chapter 3, Clock Blocker.
I forgot that they mentioned how he got his name until I reread it. Because I think somebody, it might have been Taylor or Kat, one of you had said how like, what a classic like teenager immature name. How did they let him have that name? And he just gave it to himself in a press conference and was like, try taking it away from me.
Yep.
Like
he pulled an I Am Iron Man moment.
I love it.
Exactly. Oh, so good. And
Again,
exactly
such
what
a
you'd
teenage
expect.
move.
Yeah.
This, you guys know that meme that's like, stop making me like Mitt Romney. I don't want to like Mitt Romney. That's how I felt this entire arc. Like, I don't want to like them, but like this one, like Clock Blockers, I was like, oh man, I kind of like this kid. And I'm like, no. Not.
Yeah. I
love Clock Walker.
I definitely felt for the dude. Like literally, your best friends die. You're next in the line of succession, or succession, however you say that. And then literally, it's like, oh, we're pulling in
The 600-pound.
yeah, we're pulling in
Metal
just
guy.
Metal Man, you know, and now you got to listen to Metal Man. But Metal Man's talking about training with other squads while you're trying to pull 16-hour shifts and your friends are dead. And you're like, Metal Man, why?
Going to classes.
Yeah, so it's
And
just,
poor
oh, yeah,
clock
and going to
blocker.
classes.
Which actually,
Yeah.
let me talk about that. The class, I was like, I just want a whole arc with this professor
Yes.
teaching
Yes.
me.
God,
Yeah.
yes.
I'm like, wait a minute, I love this. I feel like that was my favorite part of the whole arc was like that professor's like monologues.
Yeah.
Yes.
The
I'm like,
reverse
this is
gladly.
great. I want to be in
The
this
reverse
class.
gladly.
Reverse gladly.
I love it.
Mr.
Yeah.
Sadly.
Oh man, missed opportunity.
Ugh.
Mhm.
Truly.
All the talks that take place in the hallway, I cannot stress enough that Wildbow is like the only person I read that does healthy, good dialogues
My gosh.
like this, and I just love it. I love
Me
it every
too.
time,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and it's like back to back to back talks with people too.
hmm Yeah.
So good.
Like, how many teenagers do you know who will make a biting comment and then immediately go and apologize in like the most heartfelt way? Like, I don't know if it's in the water, if it's in, I don't know what. I mean, I do know the answer. It's just Wildbow. But like, it's one of the reasons why I love reading Worm is that I forget they're children because they have such intelligent conversations with each other. And like, even
Mhm.
here where he lashes out, and obviously it makes perfect sense. He's in a lot of pain. He is under a lot of stress. And then of course he finds out that his dad's in the hospital, and it's just like all of these things have all compounded around him, and he lashes out, but then immediately goes and like has a good conversation with Vista, and like, it hits me in the heart in all the right
Yeah.
ways.
He also, I loved his sort of hesitant request to Glory Girl
Yeah.
for Panacea's help,
Mhm.
which
Hmm.
was so
Which
hard to
I
read.
totally get.
Yeah, so hard to read. Like, you know, she has rules. You know what the answer probably will be, but like, he's just so desperate to try anything. And then again, that was like, and she's not in the chapter, but like, my God, I wish we had an arc, or wish we had a chapter here for Panacea, because I would have just loved to see her in this post Leviathan environment. Like, my goodness, imagine what she's going through.
What an exhausting role that she's probably had.
Right.
Yeah.
Being who she is, wanting to be that good person, like we've talked about, wanting, hating that she is that good person, but wanting to do it nonetheless, and just the amount of pain that she must be going through, losing family, but on top of that, just the exhaustion of probably working crazy hours.
Yeah.
Yeah. She probably still hasn't processed.
And
Yeah.
not overexerting herself, because like we already know that like if you overexert your powers, you can have some really bad, after effects. In that same way, she's probably having to monitor how much she can actually help. Like,
Because I picture that she is still just like she's just been healing and sleeping this whole time. Whereas Glory Girl has kind of been meeting with the rest of the family, and she's like, yeah, it looks like we're disbanding. It's like we lost a couple of us. We're disbanding our group, and that's why I'm here, kind of like interviewing with you guys to see if I want to do it,
Right.
Whereas Panacea is still probably is just at a hospital, or at multiple hospitals, just bang, boom, bang.
I like to think that her costume is a candy striper.
I'm sorry, what?
say that again.
Panacea's? I'd like to think that her costume is like a candy striper costume.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Like the hospital helpers.
Yeah, no, I think that you're probably right on the money.
It's just a pair of like surgical scrubs, but she's got like 50 pagers instead of one.
Yeah.
Constantly checking a pager, just like shit, and just like runs.
One of them or two of them are dedicated to Glory Girl and her accidentally almost killing.
Yeah.
Like, Glory Girl, I have a lot to do. Can you please just chill?
Yeah.
Just got to tinker to set an alarm to concussions around Glory Girl. Every time a concussion goes off.
I don't know. I might be the only one that this bothered a little bit, but like I know that we'll talk about this in a little bit too. We kept saying over and over again, like, oh, like Vista had a crush on Gallant, like, oh, like later on it mentions it as puppy love, or like, yeah, like you just had a crush, you just like this, that, and the other, and I'm like, these are teenagers. Literally, Glory Girl and Gallant are just a high school romance. Like literally,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? I'm like, you can't judge the 13-year-old when the 16-year-old is literally doing the same thing 3 years later. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it was really weird to me how it's
really downplaying loss.
Yeah.
Because
Yep.
like regardless of like how old you like it's real to them.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Because like literally for Clockbacher, it's like, are you serious? Like you really said that in front of Vista? Like I can take it because I'm 16, but
Yeah.
she can't take it. And I'm like, none of y'all can take it.
Yeah.
I'm like, y'all are children.
Yeah.
I
That
mean,
is, isn't that such the high school mindset though? You're like,
It is.
you're like, oh my god, these 13-year-olds,
Mhm.
and you're like 16 and 17. You're like, I can't believe these children.
Yeah. That's true.
I mean, it really plays into in a way, it plays into how the group views Vista as the kid, which,
Mhm.
Vista later tells us she hates, but like to them, she's like the little kid that we got to keep an eye on and we got to protect. And like in this moment, that's coming out again of like, oh, well, Vista's going to run off and yeah, you should go talk to her. Even though like it was my boyfriend who died, like, yeah, you should go talk to her. The little kid who had a crush on him.
Yeah, I mean, us adults can take it, but like,
Right.
you got to go talk to her. Meanwhile, the PRT guard in the corner is like, man, how am I going to file my taxes? I lost my home.
It's like a 36-year-old man just
Yeah.
like, I don't know what I'm going to do.
I did like the little subtle. They don't really get into it too much, but because in the first ward interlude, Gallant pulls Panacea aside and it's like, hey, listen, I know how you feel about me. It's okay. I have this sneaky suspicion that maybe just as a byproduct of Gallant's power, everybody was a little in love with him.
Mhm.
I mean,
it-
I wouldn't
Everybody.
at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it builds in, and I guess I'll just probably go more into Vista's chapter here in a little bit. But like when Weld mentions that he was the heart of the group, like you really get that sense that
Mm.
that not just because of his power, although that probably factored in, that like they did lose the beating heart of the group,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
they have like no emotion left after that,
Yeah.
which is it
Yeah,
hurts.
So
because it seems
painful.
like from the previous interactions we've had, the very brief ones we've had with Gallant, Panacea basically asked him like, "Hey, can you not like use your power on me right now to try to make me feel better?" Um,
Yeah.
Mhm.
which is just such an interesting insight that probably without even realizing it, like he's just trying to be nice, and he's just this whole time like slowly exerting his power on people, right?
Yeah.
Such
Which,
an
to be fair,
interesting.
I need a little bit of that.
Yeah.
Little serotonin boost.
I could use some Gallant therapy. Thank you very much.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I mean, we've seen it before with Skitter during the whole bomb thing. When she got knocked out, like all of her bugs continued their her last command basically. So the thought of like you could potentially be impacting the group that you're in, especially because Gallant's Gallant's power is what it is, but like he could potentially have been impacting the group in ways that he didn't even necessarily know or was aware of. That of course, now that that's gone, it just drops everybody into like an even deeper depression.
Oh, you've hurt me now.
Mm.
Because now I'm thinking like, what was Gallant's last emotion as he died was probably sadness. Like,
Yeah.
what if it was just like a burst of poof? Like,
Yeah.
that's what hit everybody. Oh, I'm mad at you.
Sorry. I love the idea that powers have more of an impact than just doing something. Like it's not just okay, I'm going to send my bugs out or whatever. Like your power affects you in ways that you don't know, and you affect your powers in ways that you don't necessarily know. And like with that, like if you were to constantly be getting dosed, like minor doses every day of serotonin by just being around somebody for years. You know, you're training, you're going on patrol, you're, you know, sleeping in, you know, little cubicles,
Got
spaces
those
across from each
adolescent
other.
pheromones.
Exactly, which are only boosted because they're all teenagers. But like having a constant, you know, drip of serotonin, and now all of a sudden it's gone. Like you'll feel it even more so. And like, this is me kind of going off on a tangent here a little bit, but like, so what happens when you get serotonin every day that you're not aware of, and now all of a sudden that drip is gone? Like, do you go into withdrawal?
Right. Probably.
Like, I mean, I
Some
don't
degree.
know.
Oh my gosh. And then right after this class, is it right after the class that we roll out to the happy fun time
Oh
with the village?
God.
Yeah, and I'll kind of start it off because this is what I was referencing earlier. But they roll out, you know, the travelers are there, and they're like, "Come on, man! Like, I just fought with you last month, like with you alongside you. You know this isn't my MO. Why don't you get busy with this? We'll just pop on out." And then literally, I feel like if why do I keep forgetting that dude's name? It's like no. Weld.
Aegis?
Thank you. I don't know why I just keep forgetting Weld's name, but literally it's because he's like new. But because if Weld hadn't have been there, I think the rest of them would have been like, all right, go fuck off, you know, and they would have left. But Weld's just like, that is not protocol. And then literally it creates just an ass whooping.
I like to think Weld has like the protocol book, like in like a miniature version, like the little mini Bibles, like in his pocket.
In his pocket, yeah.
Oh, 100%.
Absolutely.
He absolutely does. To make continue the comparisons, both in power and personality, but he reminds me so much of the version of Colossus that's in the Deadpool movies.
Yeah,
Yes.
I was thinking the same thing.
Absolutely.
Actually, yeah.
You know, as by the book as you can get.
That is not protocol.
Yeah,
I was going to say a lot of these characters are analogs for, you know, the DC or Marvel characters.
Right, yeah.
And like he has to be, right? And then Shadowstalker is just Huntress.
Oh,
you know,
I mean,
Batman's
definitely those
constantly
vibes.
trying to get to stop killing people with a crossbow.
Yeah. Hey, and if that sounds like a great idea, and y'all want to hear more on that, hit us up on Patreon. We'll go ahead. We will compare and kind of see where Wildbow got his inspirations. Just let us know.
There we go.
But
There
not
we go.
right now. So, bodies mutilated, dead. Badly.
Yeah. So
Gross.
I think when I first read it, I was just like, oh God, like we've got I don't know, I guess Ted Bundy or like a Jeffrey Dahmer man, and I'm like, oh God, like now, yeah, someone's just coming in and doing something. But then later, it was later on in this chapter, correct?
Yeah, it was Clock Walker.
Yes, yeah. Later on in this chapter, they discuss the Slaughterhouse 9, and I think we'll definitely talk about that in the predictions. But definitely sounds like a boy band. No, I'm kidding.
I would listen to them absolutely. Yeah, actually, I think they mention it in Kid Win at the end of or at the beginning of Kid Win's chapter. But yeah, this fight with the travelers kind of
right
moment here and looking at the 3 corpses. So one of them is like limbs attached to chain like a puppet. The other one is scorched.
Yeah, it's an obese woman, and I just remember that because I was just like, obese woman. Like it just hit me for some reason. I was just like, okay, obese woman scorched. That must smell amazing.
God.
What's
Now we don't do live readings with Taylor.
What is the third body?
Yeah.
I can't remember what the third one is.
Yeah,
Oh, it's been flayed?
I think so.
Flayed?
Yeah, I think you're right. To look again.
Yeah, it's like limbs on chains, flayed, and then
yeah, it is flayed. Yeah. God, that's so
Specifically,
gross.
the limbs are reattached, but
Reattached
on
by chains.
Yeah.
Like a puppet.
Yeah.
not just hanging.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just delightful. Just such a
Yeah, it's a beautiful image,
lovely.
right?
And I think Weld says it, but like the idea of like, oh, this, a serial killer popping up right after a Leviathan fight. Like it makes sense. Like if there were to be a time for a serial killer to act out and not necessarily worry so much about being caught, like the whole city is kind of in panic. And they even mention like, yeah, it's going to take the PRT a while to get here because the roads are so fucked up. Like they're not going to be able to drive out here as fast as they would have otherwise. So like, I mean, now's the time. If, we're going to get a crazy person murdering people, like, well,
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, a bunch of the, capes have been removed from the chessboard, if you will. And
It's a pattern that shows up in this world that they talk about where like, oh, what draws endbringers? Oh, like big conflict, like consistently. Oh, what brings the Slaughterhouse 9? Oh, the endbringers. Like,
yeah,
if you get hit with an endbringer attack, it's just like, you're just getting slammed and then slammed again, like guaranteed.
it's not a good time. It's not a good time.
And you're getting your ass kicked, and halfway through, you realize that they are pulling punches.
Oh, yes.
That sucks.
With the travelers,
Yep.
yeah.
Yes.
God damn. It felt like such a game. Like, it felt so much like a game. Like a little, we're just play acting. Like, we're not trying to hurt you guys. We're not trying to, like, make this difficult. But we want you to understand that, like, we could go all out. But we're not. Because we all just fought Leviathan. And it seems kind of pointless. Like,
Yeah, I love the Travelers are such a fun group. They walk that same sort of unknown gray line that like the Undersiders walk and things like that. So they're fun to sort of cheer for because they're not murderous psychopaths yet that we know of.
Yeah.
But the way their power is like they're all sort of that definition of glass cannon where they're so powerful, but not like crazy durable by any means. Genesis, I guess, kind of depending on what
God. Yeah, Genesis.
Fuck.
Which
just the way they like use their powers.
Have we seen the real Genesis yet? I don't think we have, right?
I don't think so. Yeah,
No.
I don't think we have.
Because Genesis isn't a shapeshifter like they keep saying, right? Genesis is like mind projection of forms and stuff.
They talked about it in one of the earlier arcs where Genesis like rode in. It's after the Bakuda fight, I believe, and they're dealing with the is it Oni Lee? It's the fight with Oni Lee, I believe. So as they're trying to take out the ABB, and she's kind of in that fight, and they mentioned that she like I keep saying she, but I don't actually know. Genesis basically like rides in like a knight on a rhinoceros or something, gets blown to smithereens because of a Bakuda bomb, and then shows back up again, and it's like, so it's not Genesis, it's Genesis like what?
I think they said a line that made me think it's similar to Ben 10, where Genesis only has a certain amount of forms. They cycle through forms, because I could have sworn it said something like that, where it's like, oh, like they have like a certain amount of forms that they switch through.
Genesis sleeps, and when they're dreaming, they create the creatures, but they can only maintain the creatures while they're asleep. And there's some other limitation there that I don't remember, but that's why like it's a different creature every time.
Interesting.
Just whatever they're sleeping and dreaming about.
But yeah, it was interesting though seeing Ballistic and Sundancer both being like, we're not trying to kill you guys. Like, you could just let us go at any time. We could. Especially Ballistic, I feel like, is one where it's like there's something about his power that just is like, it's just ridiculous. He's like touches it and it turns into a bullet, basically.
He can anything he touches just fires at a speed of a bullet. Like that is such a powerful ability.
Glory Girl.
Yeah.
For instance, Glory Girl. Yeah.
It's like
amazing. Amazing move.
Then he's big too. He's like built like a football player, they say. So he's like this big guy with this great, like, just so intimidating. I love them all.
I just love people just getting teleported everywhere.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Just Kid Win shooting himself in the back multiple times in a row.
Gosh. It's gotta be so frustrating.
That is absolutely how I would use that power.
Yeah.
It makes me so happy.
Yeah, I like how they mentioned it in earlier arcs with Trickster, but how it's kind of a limiting power that He can only, I think Kid Win notices that he can only teleport what he sees, got to be similar mass, like that kind of thing. But he makes it work so well. And he's like completely knows how to just ruin the entire battlefield by moving people around, which is pretty cool.
Which, I mean, it's a good thing that they're pulling their punches then, because if they weren't, like, it could really cause some damage.
Yeah, which just kind of shows that these aren't villains. These are just like bank robbers or something. Like, that's how I look at it. You know what I mean? Like, they're just a crew because
not villains, just bank robbers.
Yeah. Because truly,
Ocean's 11.
Like this isn't like a somebody that is out to like hurt people. Like, they're literally look, exactly. y'all just lost 3 people. If we sit here and kill, like, if we kill more of you guys, then the public is going to suffer. They're just like, yeah, hey, bro, just let us go. We just want to rob an ice cream truck. Like, come on, man.
Well, the fight does conclude eventually.
Yeah.
And we get the remaining of that in Kid Win's arc.
Kid Win. Oh my
fun
goodness.
to read.
Yes.
I love him too.
Yes, literally, like I immediately knew that I would empathize with him when I read the first line, and it's just like, I'm a tinker. I'm supposed to be smart. So how can I have been so stupid? Like, literally, immediately I was like, wow, my dude. Like, I'm like looking in a mirror, just like, am I Kid Win?
Yep.
But yeah, he definitely loved his arc a ton.
I loved, I really appreciated, because up until now, a lot of the Tinkers, they have like specializations or limitations, things like that. And Kid Win's limitation is himself.
Right.
Like, he's got ADD or something like that. You know, he's sort of on the spectrum.
Now he's got super ADD.
Yeah, ADD, and he has, I don't know how to pronounce the other thing that
dyscalculia.
Yes, dyscalculia.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I also didn't know how to pronounce that. And I love that. I mean, it's such a unique perspective, and getting to see it from him, where he knows that he has the ability to be this crazy strong tinker, but cannot help it. Like, his limitation isn't like he's lazy or something like that. It's literally mental. Like, he can't overcome that, literally, which is such a unique limitation in this world, I think.
What a terrible combo, because he's a science guy and he can't do math good.
Right.
It'd be like being a writer and also illiterate. Like, that's your power. You're the world's greatest writer. Oh, cool. I can't read.
Yeah, figure it out. Yep.
Literally, when he talks about like the whatever Adderall they try to give him, and he's just like, yeah, whenever I get the Adderall, I get massive headache, seizures, and like, you know, and nauseous, and so I can't really do that. And it's literally, it's like I took my hoverboard apart because I wanted to build something else, but then I got distracted, and the only reason I was able to focus on the hoverboard, which is who doesn't want to fly, just his scatterbrainness. I was like, I get it, man. Like, holy cow. Like, I completely get it.
Literally me with Legos every time.
Seriously, yeah. Or me with video games.
Easy and fun to start new projects, but like halfway through, it's like, shit, I want to do something else now.
Yep. But he does get a kind of a cool moment. He gets selected to go meet Chariot, which was interesting. A fun little scene there.
Yeah, doesn't Piglet make a statement too about him, like how, like, she's proud of him or something before she sends him off? She says something to him. I can't quite remember.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember what she says. You're right, though.
I think that might be at the end whenever he briefs them after Chariot.
Oh, maybe so. Maybe that's what it is. You're right. Yeah.
Yeah, meets Chariot, meets another Tinker. Looks like also in part of the town, part of the city that got hit pretty hard. Trying to find them and everything like that. I thought that was an interesting dynamic shift from PRT headquarters to the slums, essentially, to find out where Chariot was. And things don't go too well.
Nope.
Chariot's mom is a little mean.
Obnoxious.
I again thinking about inspirations now. That scene was so similar to the scene in X-Men 2 where Bobby comes out to his parents as Iceman. If you remember that scene, very, very similar scene. And I, it made me mad in that scene, and it made me mad reading it. You live in a world of superheroes. This is the norm. Everybody knows they exist. They're on TV all the time. There's merch. Why are you acting like your son can't be this thing? Like, it's happening everywhere. Oh, made me mad.
So obnoxious. And her just like him wanting her to leave because she is talking, and he's the comment of like, "Oh, this would be so much easier if she wasn't here.
Yeah, exactly.
If she would just go."
Yeah, I love the strategizing where he's like, "Uh-oh, mom likes that," and he's like, "If he sees that mom likes it, then he won't like it." And he's like, "Oh, mom dislikes that. Okay, perfect." And just like the back and forth, and I just loved how literally for him it was him looking in a mirror. He's like, "Oh, this reminds me of when I was like reached out to from the Protectorate," and I was like, "Oh, man, this is just so cool." But yeah, then he intercepts, he NSAs and intercepts some email traffic.
Oh, that made me laugh because the one line from the mom that I hated was her, "This is where my tax dollars are going." His like little gadget. I was like, excuse me? But then turn it around and it was like, yeah, your tax dollars are going to the spy software that's watching you this whole time.
Yep.
Like just like real life. So we got some interesting insight there.
Yeah. Oh, and then we find out that because Pigott, when he goes back and talks to Pigott knows that Coil has moles in the PRT. Like, we're aware of at least 2 because Dragon like figured it out. And you know what? Let's add another one. Let's add Chariot. Sure, why not? Like, oh my god.
It's just it immediately made me. I immediately just pictured Pigott as just this is the most British thing ever. Like literally, I don't know if y'all have seen like the imitation game about like them trying to crack the Nazi code in World War II. Literally, this is just British spycraft where it's like, okay, we know who the Soviet spy is, but instead of arresting him, we're just going to give him whatever information we want to. Like this whole thing made me so happy to where it's just like, oh yeah, Coyle thinks that he's like super smart, but we're actually feeding him whatever we want to feed him. And also we're going to bring Speedy Gonzalez over and we're going to give him whatever information we want to give him. And I'm like, okay, this is hilarious.
All I can think of is like these guys, you know, have had so much happen to them already. And then we're going to add somebody to intentionally not trust to live with them.
Right.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, we'll be tapping everything, not your phone.
Yeah.
Not your internet search history.
Right. It's like, oh yeah, we'll be tapping everything, not your stuff, of course. So be careful.
Oh no.
But we'll be tapping everything else, and you're like, right. As if you weren't already, you know.
Yeah. Exactly.
But to your point from earlier, they really are just like government property. Like it felt very much like Pigott wasn't really asking for permission as much as like asking for your blessing, right? Like if you guys play nice, this will go a lot easier. But we're gonna use them as a spy. Like they are just pawns and are for whatever purpose they need to be used for. Although we also got another little bit of insight because Weld was like, guys, this really doesn't affect me because I don't have a secret identity. So it's like, oh yeah.
Why is he even going to school?
Yeah.
Like, I know that they're trying to push him to the college route as quickly as possible, but like, damn, man, like, don't even make him go to school. Like, he doesn't sleep. He can stay there. He can work. Like,
he can take his online classes. Like, don't make him go to high school. Jesus.
If I'm honest, it's my guess would be it's because of appearances. And my reasoning for that is because they don't want it to look like the wards are just a delinquent program for people, right? It's like, hey, you join the wards, you don't got to go to school anymore, bud. You know,
right.
And get the wrong kind of people. Like I could totally see somebody giving that as their reason as to why. Like, well, you know, we have to have you go to school, or else people will assume bad things about you. Which
they might make assumptions.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, which of course kind of BS, but I can at least get the idea. I don't, even if it's not the best one.
Yeah. I did feel bad for a Weld in that regard because they even have that special bridge program, but they're like, yeah, so since you will literally be a hero wearing pants and a t-shirt, we can't put you in that program or it'll expose everyone else in that program. So you just have to just be a student. And he's like, okay.
All right,
Yeah.
fine, I guess. Poor guy. I really do like Weld quite a bit. He's just a sweetie. He's a big, cuddly metal teddy bear.
Absolutely. Which we'll discuss next chapter.
I like this segue. Oh, Vista's chapter is maybe my favorite of the 6.
I don't
Yeah,
remember liking
I
Vista
agree.
this much the first couple times I read it, but man, Vista's been a winner every
Yeah.
time she shows up.
The maturity, but also like the vulnerability in the character.
Yes.
Her conversation with Weld, like it's this whole chapter
good.
is really good. Really good.
It's like really good cheese. Just eat it up.
Nom, nom, nom.
I wasn't
it
expecting you to
starts-
say that, but yes.
I'm sorry. It was there in my mind. I had to share it with you guys. This is a safe place.
Yeah, what a little badass though. She's
Yes.
literally like, all right, let me go take a shower. Oh yeah, here's that massive scar when I sewed up myself because I didn't
Oh my
want people
God.
to think I was a baby.
Right?
Mhm.
And I was just like, damn, like that's badass. Way to go, Vista. And she's just like, yeah, I got a scar here, this here. It's really gonna suck whenever like I actually go through puberty. And then I remember and I'm like, my God, like she's 13 and she's a late bloomer. Like, my goodness.
Girl, flat as a pancake.
And she got stabbed by Hookwolf of all people too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
She's like, yeah, here's my
Oh.
injury from maybe the most dangerous villain in the city.
Yes, this is a literal child still.
Yes.
Like,
Oh my gosh.
oh my gosh.
And another weird thing about her, she's in costume so much and in character so much, she doesn't even associate with her real name anymore.
Yeah.
I noticed that
yeah.
for her and for Shadow Stalker's chapter, they refer to themselves as Shadow Stalker
Yeah.
or Vista.
Yeah.
And that's when it gave me Batman vibes to where it's like,
Yeah.
I knew you were
Yeah.
in my head because I don't call myself Bruce. And I'm just like, oh Jesus. Like
Yeah.
they're so indoctrinated.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of hard to read. Yeah, I mean, indoctrinate I think is a good word, but it's like it's very much like I get a lot of flashbacks to like we sort of gloss over this sometimes, where you get like Ahsoka from the animated Star Wars: The Clone Wars show, where it's like, oh, here's a child soldier just running around killing people and doing soldier things, and it's like you don't really think about that too much until you get to these moments. You're like, oh, they're children and they're soldiers.
Right. It's a literal child, and she's like, yeah, I try not to think about like 5 years in the future because I'm probably not going to be there. And you're like, oh, which is why I thought Weld just handled that like a champ.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh.
Redemption for Weld in that moment.
Absolutely.
Like, what are my orders, sir? Cry.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Sleep and cry.
I need that.
Bless.
Well, go to therapy. Go to therapy and
go
cry.
Go to
therapy and
therapy,
cry.
cry.
Go to
and
therapy,
sleep.
cry.
I just need Weld. I just need like inspirational quotes from Weld that I can just put up on my wall. And it's literally just sleep, shower, go to therapy, have a good cry. Like, okay, okay, Daddy
Thanks,
Weld.
Weld.
Just remember not to give yourself a concussion when you hug them.
Yeah,
don't get
don't
that.
bonk. Make sure you don't have
But-
like any rings or jewelry on.
Yeah, I do love how she describes it though, as even though like she can feel his body is made of metal, she's like, no, it's weirdly comforting, and I just thought that was really sweet. That like, oh yeah, like
Mhm.
like he might be made of metal, but he's a softie.
He's
Yeah.
a good guy.
He's a great guy. He's a great guy.
If he's made of metal, then his heart is of gold.
But who isn't great is the psychopath down the hall.
Fucking bitch
God.
again. God
Literally.
damn her.
And literally, it made me kind of I won't say I felt less for Taylor. But literally I was like, oh, this is just who she is. Like if it wasn't Taylor, it would be
Would be
Mr.
somebody
Gladly
else.
or
Yeah.
or who are our not Uber elite, but who are our freaking autistic brothers in the class?
Greg
Oh.
and
Greg
I
and
can't remember the other guy name.
If it wasn't Taylor,
I
it'd
don't
be
know.
like Greg and Daryl
Yeah.
or whoever it was, you know?
Right. Right. Yeah. It's just like every time you think she can't get worse, it's
Yeah.
she just does. She just does.
Yeah.
It's brutal. Like, my God. She didn't even have to
Weld.
start anything.
Right.
And
Well,
she did.
It's
Yeah,
the
Weld's
little
over here.
things
Have a
too.
cry. Cries.
Right.
Sophia, are you fucking crying?
Are you a
I thought
fucking
we-
baby?
I thought we got
What a
over this.
baby. Jesus.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Like even the way she ruffles her hair in the bathroom is so condescending. Like, oh my God, like leave her the fuck alone. Like, and honestly, because this is our first perspective from Shadowstalker. Like I just, because my natural assumption is just to always think that like, oh, you're being a bitch because you're hiding something inside of you. Like, no, you're just a fucking bitch. You're just a jerk. And you're pissed off because Vista's crying. Like, why are you? I hate her so much.
She's the
And then,
worst.
of course, like, absolutely in character, when Vista responds and is like cool, calm, and collected, she can't fucking take it. So she tackles Vista to the ground, bangs a girl's head on the floor. Like, can you?
And a bully.
Such a bully. Like short fused, total.
What pissed me off so much is she's sitting there talking about she's like, I loved him. And that's just like a calm response. And she's like, you don't know what love is. I'm like, bitch, and you do? Let me tell you right now, nobody's ever loved you.
Oh, that's why. I mean,
and I don't know if you've loved anybody.
Yeah. Her little I pity you. I was like, yes.
So good.
Oh, so good.
It felt so good.
Yeah, because she's like, you don't feel sorry for me. And she's like, but I do.
But I do, bitch.
And she's like, go get help.
Just not letting her
help.
take her.
Yeah, the two things you could say, like on one hand, it's like, I care for you. Get therapy. On the other hand, go fuck yourself. Get therapy. Like,
And this is what really led me down the okay, I think there might be dissociative identity disorder, psychopathy. Like, I was like, it has to be something like that. Whenever she leaves this, is like, I just need to go beat something up. She's like, I've just got to go inflict some violence on people because of what she did to me. And I was like, okay, something ain't clicking.
I'll recant my previous statement. You're probably right. She's probably a sociopath.
Yeah,
which only
that's what
makes
I'm
me
leaning
question all the
towards.
people I played soccer with.
Where are they now?
I know.
I mean, one of them's one of the best refs in the state, an award winner for reffing soccer. So definitely a sociopath.
Sociopaths make the best refs.
I mean, yeah, that actually checks out now that I'm thinking about it. But leading into Shadowstalker's chapter, final chapter.
That bitch called Emma.
Oh my God.
Oh,
you gotta love it.
Which also,
goodness.
Before what I said about classic rich people leaving Brockton Bay, Emma's not fucking here. She's off. I don't even remember where she said she was.
Portland.
In fucking Portland, Oregon. Hanging
flew
out
to Cancun.
Yeah, Jesus. And my house got a little flooded on the big mansion hill of my stupid fucking lawyer dad. I'm going to go to...
Listen,
God.
Texas was falling apart and Emma flew to Cancun.
I was just about to say that. I was like, we'll get through this together as he's on the beach.
On the way to Cancun. Ugh, God. Yeah, no, their conversation on the phone is so... it just makes me, sick. Emma is so enabling her. And, it feels like they clearly do have a friendship going, because otherwise Shadowstalker wouldn't have called her. Other than, maybe just having someone on her side that is going to back her no matter what. Well, bullies stick together, I guess.
I don't know which one of y'all said this last time, but one of y'all was like, I think that Emma's dad might be the lawyer that kind of got Sophia off of some things. This really confirmed it for me.
Yeah.
I got squashed when someone mentioned that he was a divorce lawyer or divorce attorney, but I still stand that he used his.
I think so.
Connections. Yeah. No, it really feels like, they might be friends, but they're both clearly using each other.
Yes.
You know, within this friendship, like it's not a standard healthy friendship.
Right. Like Emma gets to live vicariously through Shadowstalker because of the whole, cape thing. And then also like Shadowstalker isn't going to have anybody to talk to. And like, sure, sociopath, yes. But also like sometimes you need somebody to just back you up and to be like, absolutely. You're totally right. Like,
Emma's a sycophant.
I am. Exactly. A sycophant.
And she needs, and Emma wants, or Sophia wants that ego boost.
Yeah.
Where like somebody who's not necessarily as aggressive as her, but like will take her side when it's like, this bitch needs to die. And she's like, yeah, that bitch needs to die. It's like, thank you.
Yeah. Who can appreciate her aggression and rage and like be on her side regardless of that. Exactly. Who's not going to question it?
And getting into her whole mindset of predator versus prey.
Yes.
That's the way she views the world. And it does. So that line that Vista asks her where she's like, what happened to you? I think that hits harder because we see now this mindset of somebody who can only view the world through the lens of people who take advantage of others and people who are taken advantage of. And that's really sad and depressing.
Yeah.
To be like I'm with Vista on that. Just like, man, what happened to you? Like you were not okay. And yeah.
And if we want to psychoanalyze her a little bit more, like how does that bleed over into, what caused her power and like how that shows her mental state, that she is incorporeal, like is kind of her bit.
Oh, true.
Oh, I like that actually. That didn't cross my mind, but I do like that. Yeah.
She was like giving like a little nerd a swirly so hard that it caused her to just get powers of the hunter.
Yeah, she got a drop of toilet water on her face while giving the nerd a swirly.
Yeah,
just couldn't handle it.
And was like,
but that does make you wonder though, and not to in any way try to sympathize or understand her, but like, what was her trigger?
Yeah,
if she's
probably bullied by her
up.
family, like her dad or her mom or something, which because bullies make bullies,
Yeah, very much so.
And we have to remember too that she came to that school meeting without family there.
Right.
It was just her.
Yeah.
Well, this it's hilarious that I literally watched a video last night just trying to go to sleep, and when I was reading this, I was like, oh my god, this correlates, if that makes sense. So I want to shout out Nick Robinson on YouTube, and he has a video called "This is what a second-person video game would look like." So you have like your first-person shooters, you have your third person. He's like, what would a second person be? And I don't want to spoil in his video what that is. Go watch it, give him a like and follow. But for this resonated with me because we, for the sake of reading the story, have been tailored. And so literally all of a sudden, Skitter is the target. And we are outside of Skitter's mind and we are in Shadowstalker's mind. But I still feel like I'm Skitter.
Yeah.
And this whole battle scene or like stalking scene felt second person to me because I felt like I was the one getting chased the whole time.
Ooh. I like that.
This was really what cemented me. So, like when I was texting you guys saying it felt icky.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Like you were like, oh, it's like a cleansing after Leviathan. I'm like, no, I don't feel cleansed. I do not feel cleansed. I feel like a traitor.
Yep. She's coming for my booty. That's what I felt like.
I feel like we were just hunting down Skitter, and I just did not I did not like. It felt icky. Like I can get behind the others a little bit better, not Shadow Stalker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one.
Yeah, I like that perspective, Taylor.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
It was really getting to me. But I did love Skitter is definitely evolving as far as like how she's using her powers, which I thought was really cool. Like
And
she's constantly shooting bug people, and then she's like, "Oh, this bitch probably knows where I am because her bugs keep flying through me." And I'm like, "Oh, this is just, awesome." Or like, "Oh, let me go slit her throat right quick," and I'm like, "Bitch, what the fuck?" But anyways, she's like, "Oh, I can't because her costume's too tough."
Yeah, just try.
That's right. You goddamn right, you bitch.
And
But man,
Skitter's back with the Undersiders.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Things are different.
As soon as Shadow Stalker goes, "Oh God, oh no," when the darkness hits, I was just like, "Oh my God!"
I was like, I knew it.
Yeah, not to spoil Jacob and Alan's thing, but if they don't have "Hello Darkness, My Old Friend" play every time Gru comes on screen, you're doing it wrong.
well, we
sin.
will now.
Also, we found out Shadow Stalker's bitch ass weakness.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
for real.
Yeah.
Oh my
I know.
gosh, I thought
Thank
that was
God.
so cool.
Thank God there's not electricity in like every building.
Right? Like, what's the point of having that ability if you can't actually walk through walls? Like,
Well, she even talks about she
fake-ass
can't do
Danny
it
Phantom.
Because of the
sometimes.
wiring, yeah.
It's like, I can't walk through walls.
yeah, that's what I'm
really
saying.
funny.
Fake ass
I
Danny
wanted-
Phantom.
I wanted her to walk into that fence so fucking
Oh,
bad.
I know.
I
Yes.
know, right?
Yes, same.
Oh, it would have been so
Ugh.
satisfying to have
I
her
just-
like electrically just like stuck to this fence. Like, oh.
I wanted to piss off Kid Win, and he's like, "Hey, here's those new goggles you ordered."
Yes.
That is also a terrifying thought. Is like, don't mess with Tinkers. Like, just
Oh,
don't
yeah.
Mhm.
Don't fuck with the
It's not
Tinkers.
worth it.
It makes
Don't
us go
mess
like
with it.
all the way back to like when they're complaining about Arms Master and all his gadgets, and they're like, "God, I fucking hate Tinkers."
or like when Alec tries to steal Kid Win's gun at the bank heist, and he's like, "Drop that! Don't you dare! You do not take that back with us." Yeah, same thing.
What's the first thing they do? Well, probably a self-destruct and probably a tracker.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
to 101 for
minimum.
Tinkers.
Yeah. I'm so ready, even after all of these. I really enjoyed this arc because of the wards and all the interludes and whatnot. But I am like, after this run-in at the end with the Undersiders and Shadowstalker, I am so ready to get back to the Undersiders. Like,
Yeah.
I want to
Mhm.
know how they're doing after everything.
I want to know who the fuck is the new team member.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Pull the lever!
Are we
Yes,
ready
yes.
for predictions?
Well, hang on, wait.
Let's
Let me
see.
look. Let me look and see. Yeah, okay. Michael Scott is actually poking out of the vent, and he is saying we need to wrap this shit up. He's like, it's only been 6 chapters, and y'all been talking for like an hour and a half. So why not? Why not get some predictions in? Do you want to go first, Kat, or do you want me to go?
Yeah, so I think Arms Master's in the birdcage, like I said earlier. And the thing is, I know that like his little thing on like trying to, kill Skitter wasn't as big a deal as like a lot of other people, but I just feel like they just cannot have a superhero that is doing shit like that. And they're like, we got to get rid of this guy.
Mhm.
Bad publicity, They can't have that,
Mhm.
especially after this.
How's he doing in the birdcage?
Oh, he's getting fucked up the ass for sure.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure. Is it
Yes.
is it long? Is it long? Is that who's doing it?
Yeah.
I don't know. But I'll be honest, I didn't think that far ahead.
Because
and then-
Colin's not making it.
Poor Colin. Poor
Colin, you're right.
weeb Colin.
Ooh,
and
getting
I
don't go to
think
prison with a name like Colin and come out, unchanged.
No.
my second prediction is that Imp is actually a character we've met before, but did not meet them as a superhero.
Okay.
Okay.
Do you have any predictions on who you think that might be?
No.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Okay. I don't have any predictions on Imp. Just because that was like a side thought to me. There was something that has been soaking up my mind, and I'll save that for the end. But I think that I'm going to go, since Kat thinks that Armsmaster is in Birdcage. I think that Armsmaster got whoever that new guy was that tried to be Captain America. I think he got his treatment. So it's like you were the face of the company. Now, instead of Captain America, you're like Agent or like whatever his name is.
Oh, you're thinking of U.S. Agent.
Thank you. Yeah.
From Marvel.
He's basically he's basically the guy that's like, okay, this is our off the books dude. So like we can send Armsmaster out with his fake anime arm to go and just do whatever we need him to do.
He got a rebrand.
Yes, but there is something that has been taking up my mind. Ladies and gentlemen, it has been taking up my mind. So when we meet Weld, right? I said that. Okay, I got it. Okay, perfect. Yep. Sorry, I was trying to think of it from memory. I'm going to get your name right, Weld, because I love you so much. But, big but, in the first chapter, Weld is like, oh man, like, I can't wait to take over this team, this, that, and the other. Oh man, but I really want to do this thing. And I don't know if they're going to let me do this thing, but I really need to do this thing because I love doing this thing. And I was like, what does Weld get off to? I was like, what is this thing? And so later on in the arc, he's like, oh yeah, send the adolescent in my chamber. And I'm like, no, please no. But then he turned out to be a softie. And I was like, okay, good. It's not what I thought it was. So
just more reasons to love Weld.
Yeah, it's more reasons to love. I was like, okay, cool. I was like, then what gets off Weld? Because immediately I thought like, oh, like my dude is like boning prostitutes as a metal man. You know what I mean? But I was like, but he probably kills people because he's just rock solid.
600 pounds.
Yeah, he's like just. But like, what gets Weld off? What gets him
tailpipes?
Yeah.
What did you say, Alan?
Tailpipes. Yeah. So that's my thing. Is he like the humping robot from?
Look at that Honda Accord.
From like Robot Chicken, where he's
watching robots porn.
No.
Yeah. No. Seriously. Where he's like, oh man, like. So you've been around, and it's like a washing machine. He's like, oh yeah.
Not the washing machine.
And the problem is he gets stuck to it. And they're like, well, no. He's like, it's not what it looks like.
Yeah. So
wouldn't a tailpipe just make his dick
silicone?
Bigger?
Yeah,
exactly.
Silicone, baby.
Silicone.
Yes. You understand now.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
So that's my thing. I am super. That is my new 9/11.
Oh no.
I want to know what is Weld.
No.
What does my boy do?
No.
Maybe he's into the bug girls.
Oh.
I don't know, but I'm excited.
The new ship. All right, I'm here for it.
Yeah. I still think that her and Brian have a future together. They didn't get it. They didn't get the relationship, and I think it's coming. I think that
we'll see who comes.
Brian fumbled the bag, but I think that he still has the opportunity to try again. Yeah. So
I see you as a sister. Oh, thanks.
But I'm a Targaryen.
Oh no! Jesus Christ.
Yes.
God. Well, this is.
I'm sorry, Michael, for that.
This has delved into very odd spaces.
I know. Can we
return to favorite superpowers, please?
Favorite
superpowers. For the love of God.
Favorite new superpower.
Quick.
Yes.
I thought it was funny. I thought it was funny that Weld, like, when he accidentally gets metal in his face and he's like, oh fuck, not this again. I thought that was absolutely amazing.
That was brilliant.
I will say, as far as new superpowers, the Fléchette's explanation, I just thought was interesting because I still didn't understand it. But I'm interested to see like how Weld is going to shape. Like, is he going to get more metal? Is he going to like get rid of himself and make him like, I don't know. It's just, that's an interesting power to me. And what's he doing?
Definitely.
No.
Who or what is he doing?
Stop it.
Not a new power. I was going to say,
he's a
I'll
teenager.
Not a new power, but I did enjoy. I'm going to keep talking.
Keep going. You're doing great. Just keep going.
I did enjoy getting to see Trickster in action more often, because like we've seen him use his powers, but not really in like a intense combat. And it was really, I had a lot of fun reading that part of the fight with him just swapping everything around and moving people, and like you said, Kid Win shooting himself in the back, like just a really fun few paragraphs. So that's my submission.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. It really felt like, in a way, we see Trickster come into his own here. Like we've seen him rescue people, we've seen him inconvenience Arms Master, which is hilarious, and we love it. But yeah, we haven't really seen him in a fight like this, and I did think that was really cool as well. Yeah, great fight. Great powers all around. I think Trickster is still one of my favorites, so I do have to give him a shout out as well, Jacob. I agree with you there. But Vista's power is so mind blowing.
Oh, it's so cool.
It's just, well, it's not new, so I'll say Vista. Shout out to her as well. Actually, I don't think any of these powers are new.
None of these are technically new.
None of these are new.
You could choose like Flechette or Weld.
Yeah, Flechette or Weld are the only new ones that we see. Really,
I'll tell you my favorite that just a moment with a power was Shadow Stalker being, gaseous and then like coming down and like landing on a rooftop or on the ground. Just something about the idea, almost dreamlike. If you've ever had like one of those dreams where you like are running and you jump and you kind of like float, like moon jumping almost. It felt like that.
Yeah.
Just you're descending, but not at full speed, and you can kind of bound as far as you want. And I was just really, really feeling that running and jumping motion. Something about that just really tickled me. So
I was gonna say Weld also, because Weld is just, I just love him so much. The optimist. He's a great leader. His power is a little unfortunate at times, specifically in regard to forks, as we saw in the Leviathan fight. Yeah, no, I'm such a sucker for Weldon, and he's just so cool. And I love the idea of like all the different metals that kind of make up his skin, that kind of marbleize together and have like different, they like tie into different parts of his features. And I love that. That's so cool. But I really, really enjoyed the insight into Kid Win and his tinker brain, and kind of how he was thinking about projects and like kind of what he's dealing with ADD and feeling like, he can't quite finish the project. But I just love the creative brain of Kid Win, and even him like putting together, I don't know if that was whatever it was in Chariot's apartment, the little drone thing. That was so fun. That was so cool. I really enjoyed that. I really like the Tinkers.
Agreed. Yeah.
It was great. And before we end it, I would just like to end on this passage. Given that his tongue was made of an alloy and the pleasures of food were a shadow of what they should be, it was only fair that he enjoy himself in some other way.
No.
He knew that some staff back in Boston had caught on, but they hadn't said anything. Director Piggott here gave him the vibe that maybe she wouldn't be so cool with it. He'd be more careful until he knew for sure.
No!
He's boning washing machines.
No! I don't like it. I don't like it.
And
you know what? I think it's flower arrangement. I think he enjoys flower arrangement, and he doesn't want people to think he's weird. And that's what I think it is. Or butterfly collecting. He likes butterflies.
The problem is that everybody else knows things that Taylor and I don't. So
it's probably something lame.
I have absolutely no clue what it is.
No, I'll be totally honest. I completely forgot all of that. So I remember very little about Weld's character, so I truly don't remember.
Yeah,
I know. I'm hoping that it's not something lame where he's like, I just want to go to the Uber Elite meetup, and we're like, God damn it!
I'm an Uber Elite fan.
Honestly, that would be more shameful than anything.
He's a furry.
Oh God,
he's a furry.
It's the texture thing. He gets to wear the suit and he doesn't stick to anything.
Exactly.
Oh my God!
Makes
sense.
And he doesn't sweat. That's awesome.
Jesus. All right. Well, thanks
everybody
for coming out today and listening to another arc with the gang.
If you have stuck around this long, just bless your heart.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks for
thank you.
It's like, Hannah, tell Jacob to tell Michael to play us out.
Yeah, there we go.
Stick around. We'll end with some parting words. Thanks. Truly, truly thank you. It's been a lot of fun. We're having a blast. And we'll be back with Arc 10 in the next episode. So read along with us. Stay tuned. Or I shouldn't say stay tuned anymore. I should say make sure you check out the companion podcast, if we have now split it up, Dissecting Worm, with myself and Alan as we break down Arc 9 as well. And talk about adapting that. It's going to be a lot of fun. And until next time, don't think too hard about what Weld's fetish is.
Jesus.
Please.
He's fucking tractor.
No!
Michael, play us out,
No,
please.
please.
Thank you so much for listening. Read along with us at parahumans.wordpress.com. We'd love to hear your thoughts. What did you love? What did you hate? Anything you think we missed, etc., as long as it's kind. If you'd like to get in touch, you can find us on Twitter, Threads, Instagram, TikTok, and Reddit at Brocktonbaybc, or click the link in the description. We have a very exciting announcement. We now have a voicemail, 980-999-0438. You can call us, and your voicemail might be featured on one of our episodes.
Do you still have bitter feelings about your ex and no way to get it out? Well, perhaps you could consider hiding it inside a worm-related rant. Tell us all about how Legend broke your heart, or just how Skitter won't call you back. We'll listen and air your grievances at 980-999-0438 on the podcast. That's right. Leave us a voicemail about your sad life at 980-999-0438.
What triggered you?